Beautiful combat sports fans, beautiful boxing fans, I have been covering every single detail when you talk about this unbelievable, historic, iconic showdown between the two greatest fighters my eyes ever saw. Canelo Alvarez, like I said, the man is the greatest pressure slash counter attacker in the history of boxing. And Bud Crawford is simply the most dynamic combat athlete I have ever seen in my life. Now, over the last 5 to 6 weeks, I have made over 50 videos breaking down this fight. And oh my God, the more tape I watch, the more respect that I gain for both men. Both of them, like I said, they are the two greatest fighters my eyes ever saw. Let's get into it, beautiful people. Let's talk about defense this time. Who got the better defense? Does Terence but Crawford, the magician, have a better defense? Or does Canelo Alvarez, the marauder and the absolute wizard, have better defense? Well, let's break it down, beautiful people. Let's start with Canelo Alvarez first. The pride of Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. Listen, the man is unbelievable. When you talk about Canelo's defense, his defense is the most underrated part in his game, and it just might very well be the most impressive part of his game. Let's talk about it. When you talk about defense, what is defense, beautiful people? I mean, listen, let's talk about Canelo's defense. The man does all the basics and fundamentals like no one else. He keeps his hands up and keeps his chin tucked, and he rolls with punches. And not just that, but you know, they always say that the punch you don't see is the punch that hurts you. And the reason why Canelo Alvarez got one of the best chins in history, not just because of the man's genetics. I mean, yes, of course, his head is made of absolute granite, but the way that Canelo fights, he's so calm under the fire. And that is what you call defense. When you are so calm in the middle of the storm, your defense becomes exceptional. And Canelo sees the punches that are coming, and that is why he's able to roll with them. I mean, Canelo's defense is so good that the man, not only does he roll with power headshots, but he even rolls with body shots. But when he was at 147 and 154 at 160, he had better defense than now. If you go back and watch his fights, I mean, like I said, I have never watched as much tape as I have for both men as I have in the last 3 to 4 weeks. I have watched literally every single fight available of Canelo and of Bud on YouTube multiple times. And Canelo at 160, he was much lighter, he was much faster, he was much twitchier. But at 168, the man is much more of a bulldozer, if you know what I mean. If you watch Canelo's fights at 160, I mean, the lighter guys punch quicker. And when Canelo was lighter, not only did his punches were faster, not only did his punches were quicker, but the way that he used to roll with shots was much quicker than now. But the man is so good and the man is so elite that he can still beat any elite guy on any given night. Even though he is, some might say that him and Bud are both not in their peak weight class. If you actually look at their height, stature, and most impressive wins, I mean, listen, Canelo's wins at 168, especially not like the Munguia and Berlanga ones and Charlo, but especially that Billy Joe fight, that Callum fight. You know, the early part of Canelo at 168, his body wasn't as big as it is now, and that is why he was much faster and much more dynamic. But I believe that Canelo Alvarez, the real one, the real Canelo Alvarez, the Canelo of old, will show up for this fight. And let's continue talking about his defense before we get to the fellow all-time great Bud Crawford, the magician also. You know, Canelo Alvarez, like I said, if you actually think about it, who rolls with punches better? Canelo. Who is more disciplined when keeping their hands up and chin down? Canelo. Now, I'm gonna Like if you actually look at all my videos that I've been making over the last 4 to 5 weeks, I haven't discredited Bud or Canelo in any video. Why? Because my respect for both men and my admiration. I mean, they are my two favorite fighters right now. And I can't believe that they're actually fighting. It's absolutely crazy. But let's get into but Crawford's defense. Listen, it's funny to me when someone goes like, Crawford gets hit, Canelo gets hit. Ooh, what a great observation. It takes a rocket scientist. It takes a rocket scientist to know that a boxer gets hit. Who doesn't get hit? A lot of people talk about Rigondeaux. Rigondeaux doesn't get hit. Mayweather doesn't get hit. Are you serious? So we're just going to act like Mayweather didn't get wobbled and knocked out and nearly knocked out on his feet by a nearly 40-year-old Shane Mosley? By Shane Mosley, who was nearly 10 years past his prime? And that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. No fighter is perfect, and you can't go swimming without getting wet. That's the truth when you talk about boxing, and that is why it's called the theater of the unknown. So yes, Bud Crawford does get hit. Yes, Canelo does get hit. But their defense is better than 99.9% of the boxers in the present time and in the past time, and probably in the future. I mean, both men are so good. They are so much ahead of their time, that even though they were the fighters of the past and they are the fighters of the present, but I don't believe that we're going to see many fighters in the future better than them. I mean, nothing is impossible. Of course, the game will keep evolving and we will keep seeing fighters getting better, but there's something about Bud. There's something about Canelo. They have what you call the X factor. They have what you call the X factor. Now, getting back to the main question that I'm asking in this video, beautiful people. Who got the better defense? I believe that Canelo Alvarez doesn't have the flashier defense, but he does have the better defense. And when you talk about a game of inches, when you talk about this type of a fight, Canelo's defense might actually win him the fight. Now, in my video, some might say, oh, you're picking Canelo, you're picking Bud. Why are you giving both men all the credit in the world? Why? Because they simply deserve it. Because my eyes, in all my years of watching this game, I simply haven't seen much, if any, better fighters than either man. And that is why they are my two favorite fighters, and that is why they are the two greatest fighters my eyes ever saw. But I'm going to be honest, Canelo's defense is much more subtle, but it's much more effective. And if you actually think about it, after that, this is what champions do, ladies and gentlemen. After adversity, and after they suffer a setback, they go back to the drawing board and work on their flaws. But Crawford, after that Gamboa fight, I mean, go watch that fight. I actually watched the full fight for the first time last week. And Bud Crawford was so reckless. He was so arrogant. I mean, he was fighting Gamboa with his hands below his waist, with his chin straight in the air. But after that fight, after he got his chin checked, he went back to the drawing board, and after that fight, the man kept his hands up and the man started to work on his stance, standing in a position to be able to absorb power shots, just like Canelo. Why haven't we seen Canelo really rocked, aside from the second Golovkin fight and the Cotto fight when Canelo made his US debut when he was a kid? Because if you actually think about it, Canelo Alvarez, one of his best attributes is his stance. He's always standing in a position, he's never off balance, he's always standing in a position to deliver a power shot and to take and roll with a power shot. And that is what makes you a defensive master. Yes, you gotta have head movement. Yes, you gotta roll with shots. Yes, you gotta see the punches. Yes, you gotta keep your hands up. You gotta keep your chin tucked. But most importantly, Your stance and your balance. How many times have we seen fighters get dropped because their balance wasn't right? Nearly in every fight. For example, Thurman versus Pacquiao, when Thurman got dropped, when Spence got dropped by Crawford. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on. When Canelo dropped Bamlanga, as Oscar De La Hoya likes to call him, Bamlanga, the excuse maker. But you know what I mean? Like the power stance and the stance to be able to standing in a position to be able to absorb power shots. That is such an underrated tool when you talk about absorbing power shots and delivering power shots. And nobody does that better than Canelo Alvarez. And right after him, right behind him, you got Bud Crawford. Now, who's going to win this fight? Oh my God. When this fight got announced, I picked Canelo, and then I switched to Bud, and then I switched back to Canelo, and then I switched to Bud, and then I switched back to Canelo, and now, the more tape I watch, I mean, listen, I'm going to make my pick early next week, at the beginning of fight week. I'm going to make my pick, but nothing will ever surprise me when you talk about this fight. Crawford can win, Canelo can win. Both men are just generational fighters, and both men are so special that they are born to deliver special and spectacular and jaw-dropping moments. So bring on September 13 because I cannot wait for the fight. And please, beautiful people, join me. Join me in my live stream. Let's watch this fight together. Let's experience the highs and the lows. And let's simply enjoy both men, because whether it's going to be a fight or two or three or four from now, a year or two from now, both men are retiring pretty soon. And all I gotta say is this: let's enjoy these two great men while they are still competing, because after them, I don't believe that we're gonna get any fighter who's as charismatic as Canelo and Bud inside and outside the ring.